All right, everybody, let's go. This is session 2. All right, you know what we have to do first? Get our bubbles. All right, did everyone play with bubbles this week? Did you try? Did you buy some? Ready? Here we go. Oh, so fun. See, aren't they great? And we learned why they matter. Here they go, floating by. They're round, brains like round. They're happy. Round means happy in the brain. It means less threatening, right? Okay. Well, happy session 2 of rebalance. Okay. So let's first, like any good curriculum, we want to review what we know, what we learned last time, so we could keep building on it. Okay. So this week, got my notes, we're going to focus on overcoming distractions to increase and boost our happiness because there's a wonderful book, got it right here, called The Myth of Happiness, Dr. Lubomirsky. I will put this in the resources. Um, she researches happiness, and it turns out that's the whole reason we're doing it this week. Distractions make us feel unhappy. And, you know, we want to do everything we can to put ourselves in those positive emotions. We talked about that last session. Positive emotions are our creative time. They are our highly perceptive time. They are time we connect with others. We can problem solve. So we want to do what we can to put ourselves in the positive emotions because all day long we'll have negative emotions, positive. If we're one-to-one, that's fine. If we're more negative, that's not good. Please see, a professional. But if we're one-to-one, it's fine. But if we're 3-to-1, 3 positive to negative, that's our flourishing, that's our creative, that's our perceptive state. So that's what we're working here on rebalance, is to figure out how we can rebalance throughout our days. We all feel great when we come back from vacation because we just had so much time to rebalance on the positive sense. But what can we do every day in the regular workday, to get ourselves to rebalance a little bit? So that's what we're working on, right? So we're going to talk about distractions, their power, and how we can lessen them, right? That's what we're after because we now know by the researchers who have, decades of research, finding that what can really be impactful is how distracted we are. Okay. So this week we're focusing on um, distractions. Okay. We're going to go over our worksheet that I have up here on the screen. We're going to talk again about focusing on our values and our purpose, because the more we can speak to what our brain needs to hear to get its attention, excuse me, the less distracted we will be, which is wonderful. Okay. And we're going to use all of this to help us say yes or no and to make decisions on how we spend our work days and our time at home, so that we live more in that positive zone, because that is our happy, fulfilling zone, right? So we're going to talk about strategies, 2 strategies. They're very simple on how to focus, how to put the brain in a place of perception and nourishing, and then also how to give the brain what it needs, again, to get it into that positive state. So those 2 systems are called the warm system and the pet system. And I keep it simple so that you just can remember it in your busy work days. Okay. We're going to talk about connectomes. That's how our brain is wired, how it gives us our strengths and gifts. We're going to talk about our zone of genius. That is, we talked about that a little bit last session, but there's a great book by Gay Hendricks, and I have that. I'll put that in the resources too if I haven't yet. And we're going to talk about being a time management warrior, meaning like we're always, working on it, looking for ways to tune it up, to put into our lives what's really important to us, right? Use that growth mindset by Carol Dweck, that sensation that we can always grow and learn. And we are a current version of ourselves right now. But we can keep, changing that version. We are not the same person every day. We will change our brain a little bit after every time we learn something like this session, right? Okay. So let's go through our review phase, because again, that's how our brain learns. We keep building. And that is long-term potentiation, is doing things over and over so that our brain can connect more easily. That is the term long-term potentiation. That's the neuroscience term for learning, that we keep doing things over and over, like riding a bike. You keep trying and trying until you get it. My neighbor's been doing that with her 3 little kids, and it's so cute to watch. them take off. And I remember when I was riding a bike, and I have three older siblings, and two older and two younger. And as soon as I could ride a bike, they took me down a huge hill and I crashed into the bushes. So we want to take growth. We want to keep a steady pace, but we don't want to jump too far ahead. We want to keep building on it, right? We don't want to end up in the bushes. Okay, so week one, we talked about bubbles. We talked about doing something just fun and playful because we want to show ourselves that's okay. Bubbles are round. Brains like round. Round is a happy, safe place. We talk about psychological safety. So if you're a leader, you might want to look around your office, see how many round things you have on your office. Whether it be a lampshade, whether it be, I don't know, little pieces you have on your desk. If it's a lot of hard edges, it's more threatening to us, even, almost subconsciously. So we want to make sure we have round things around us. Okay, so we talked about that. We went over housekeeping and the roadmap of the course. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to email me at thebrainfresh@gmail.com. We talked about the importance of taking time to dream and envision where you want to go. And we're not going to figure out the how are we going to get it done? It's just, what is it? What does it look like? So if you actually take time and see it like a play, like, oh, my dream day would look like this, or my dream week would look like this. What's in that week? And give yourself 5 or 10, 15 minutes this week again to just let yourself go a little bit. What's in that week? What are you doing professionally? What's happening personally? What are you wearing? Who's with you? What are you eating? Who's cooking the food? Where are you getting the food? Is someone helping you with that? Where are you living? These are just dreams. Just let your brain go, because we have to let our brain go a little bit as opposed to being super realistic. We have to let our brain go and just dream a little bit, because then we can set our goals to get to that vision. And then we can set our weekly tactics to help us hit the goals to get closer to our vision, right? And how's your family? Who is in your family? Who are your close friends? Do you have a partner? Who is the partner? Is this someone that's in your life now? Is this someone you're dreaming about? What about nature? Do you give yourself time in nature? What would be optimal time for you to be in nature? What are you driving? How are you getting around? You taking public transportation? Is it wonderful? Are you just reading? You're learning on the way to work? Um, and then what is fun? What is fun in your week? What are you putting into your week? Like, we're going to an art festival today, meeting some friends for dinner after that. Then we have a birthday party tomorrow for my niece. So I always make sure that there's some fun in there. I'm going to go to my exercise class, my water aerobics after this, which I love, because it's outside and it's pretty today. So you know, it's important that we put some fun things into our days. And then what are you doing to move your body? What are you doing? What are you wearing? What do you wish you had access to? I sometimes wish I had a stylist who could just find, like, I really like certain materials of clothes, not necessarily the look of clothes, but the material makes all the difference to me. Of course, the look matters, but I can't wear certain materials. And so I wish someone could just, like, dig through things and just find the ones that I love. And then how are you feeling when all this is happening, when you see the house, the day, the week that you just love? What are your feelings for that, right? And then we also went over your values. So you know your 5 core values. You're all informed. Did you put it on your desk? If not, there's still time to do that, to keep your 5 core values close to you. And then every time we need to make a decision, just look at those values. Or if something doesn't feel good, some committee you've been asked to do or something, it's just you can't find a lot of energy toward it. Maybe it's something that's just not aligning with those values. So let's just keep thinking about our values as we're making our decisions throughout our week. And then our purpose. You figured out your life purpose last session. Did you write it down? Did you keep it close with your values? Remember, it is how do you help people feel after they work with you, after they spend time with you? How do people feel? So I've helped people have peace of mind and feel empowered with neuroscience strategies for professional joy. How do you help people feel? Remember, that's important, because that's how you're going to introduce yourself. You're going to turn it on its head, like that TED Talk said. Okay, you're going to say, when people say, hey, what do you do for a living? You're say, I help people feel empowered. I help people feel peaceful because they understand their neuroscience so they can find professional joy. Okay, so we got all that set. That was last week. So that was our last session. So now we're on rebalance number 2. So let's go. Okay. So let's talk about distractions. So this book, The Myths of Happiness, I got it all dog-eared. I had it on a trip and I was just soaking it in, taking all these notes. Because I don't want to waste time trying to figure it out myself. I want to like listen to the researchers. What did they find? And why not listen to them? Because they figured this stuff out, right? So when she was describing distractions, she was saying, Dr. Lubomirsky, she's a PhD researcher, psychology researcher. She was stating that when we're distracted, it's not a happy time for us. So the way I see it, it's almost like if you were in your home and you opened every window, every door. And how do you feel when that's like that? I feel like that's like that for our brain, distractions. Like one day at work, I counted all the ways that people could get to me. I have 2 phones, so many emails, pagers. I have EMR with ways that they can message me directly, like acutely and then long term. So I counted 12. So it would be like if I had 12 windows or doors open, and then how do I feel when all of that's open toward me? It doesn't feel safe, right? It doesn't feel like I can focus on anything. So I have to be very intentional about when I read messages, how I prioritize what's open. Because if I'm sitting with a patient, I want to make sure that I'm focused on that patient. I give them all my best attention and energy and intelligence to solve their problem, to hear them and provide resources for them. And I want to do that in everything in my life. I want to do that with my family. I want to do that with my friends. I want to do that in my community service. So I want to give my attention to what's important to me. I don't want to give little pieces to everything and be very distracted, like a house with all the windows and doors open. So when we think of distractions, I want you to do a bit of like a distraction assessment this upcoming week. How many doors and windows are open to your brain throughout the week? Because that is, we talk about this positive, negative emotional balance. So it's getting us more negative. So we have to close some things so that we can stay more positive. And I like the intention of that. I like us to focus. So we've already talked about focusing on our values and our purpose. And then today we're also going to learn some systems to give our brain some support so it can focus even better. Okay, so this week, on this handout here, on our distractions handout, we're talking about avoiding distractions or limiting them so we can live fully in our strengths. Our brains have a certain connection. We're wired a certain way. And the scientists call it our connectome. It's kind of like a subway map, little nodes, like where the subways come into. And all these nerves are coming into different nodes and they're connecting in certain ways. And it gives us our gifts, right? The way our brain is wired makes us good at certain things. And we call that our zone of genius. What are we really good at? What do we love doing? What would we do all day long for free? That's called your zone of genius. And there's a wonderful book by Gay Hendricks, and I'll put it in the resources as well, called The Big Leap. And it walks you through like how to find that and then how to focus on that. Because we can't say yes to everything, then we're distracted, we're not happy. And not being happy doesn't get us into that positive, solve problems, feel good, help your community mode, right? Okay, so we're really focused on distractions because this is about rebalance and we're trying to put more fun in our lives, more positive. So we need to make sure, like, what can we just block out because it's just taking our positive emotions away. Okay. Okay. It's important, right? Because it's great to feel positive and it's great to feel happy throughout the day. We know that our whole day is not going to be happy. Again, all the researchers suggest we go back and forth, happy, sad, positive, negative emotions. There's a range of emotions. Very basic ones are happy, sad. So this week, think about a distraction assessment and who are you letting in? Who gets full access to you? Are they in your values and your purpose? Are they your number one priorities? Is there anyone we need to lock out? I mean, we can certainly start with our phone. If we just start with our screen time on our phone, that always shocks me. I looked at my phone one time and I had texted for an hour and a half one day. I don't know what was going on. It's probably mostly with my kids, but a little bit throughout the day. But imagine that level of distraction throughout my day, an hour and a half. I don't even know what's happening. So sometimes there's just funny little texts back and forth, but every time we do that, we have to refocus, right? And so those are things like in my distraction assessment, that's something I'll look at is what am I doing on my phone? What can I get rid of so that I can put in my day what's really important? Because first we have to be aware before we can even solve the problem, right? Okay, so distraction assessment. Distraction is our unhappy setting. So we don't want that. We don't want the negative setting. We want more positive. We want to make sure what we say yes to is aligns with our values and our purpose. And so this week, again, just be really intentional when you're saying yes or no, you're asked to do something. Does it align with your values and your purpose? Now that you have that a little written down on your desk, or if you didn't, you're going to do it after this session, right? Okay, so how do we help to block out or to focus? Okay, so I'm going to give you two systems. The first one is called WARM system, WARM, WARM. Okay, so when I like to do these, there's two videos describing these systems in detail, so you can watch them after this. The WARM system is a way to give our brain what it needs to nourish it so that it can focus. So if we come into something exhausted and hungry and mad and stressed, it's not our best focus time, right? So how do we get our brain in a setting so it's a high focus time? We start with the warm system, okay? So I like to say, get an index card. I like to have colored ones because they're fun and they get a little dopamine in you, get some of these. And then just take, one of the cards, and we can do this together. Do it on this side. I like to draw an oval and then a heart in the middle. And what this is this shows us, this reminds me of a brain that I look at in the MRI. So that's an axial view of the brain. And then the heart in the middle reminds us that emotions come from the brain, not the heart, brain. Okay, so when we're talking about our productivity, our emotions influence our productivity and our ability to focus. Okay, so we could say our emotions come from our heart. That's fine. That's what is said in the public, in the lay press and public. But we know that our brain, the emotions come from deep in the brain, the hypothalamus, and that's why we have that heart deep in the brain on this card. Okay, so then take your card and then or your piece of paper, whatever you have, write WARM down it. Okay, and then we remind ourselves with the W. W is for water, so we remind ourselves to stay hydrated. The brain is like a garden. It needs to be hydrated, not overhydrated, just right, So when you're thirsty, drink some water. The A is appetite. The brain is metabolically a very active organ, so it needs good nutrition. Talk to your doctor if you need some assistance with what nutrition is good for you and your medical conditions or anything that your age and your activity level. Your R is rest. So we know we can only focus for so long as throughout our days. We need to rest. We need to rebalance throughout our days. We already talked last time about emotionally pausing throughout our day so we can kind of see where are our emotions at this time of the day, just to acknowledge what is going on so we have a sense of how we can rebalance throughout our day. I told you when I did this, my emotions just became more negative as the day went through. So I needed to take those pauses, even if they're nano breaks throughout the day, to just assess my emotions and maybe think of something I'm grateful for, or pet my dog if I'm home, or look at a picture of somebody I love, just to kind of rebalance my emotions. Or if someone's at work that I really enjoy and it's like a renewing relationship, go chat for a minute, again, just to renew myself emotionally, because I've learned that burnout, the researchers suggest burnout comes from, high intensity emotional interactions throughout the day with our patients and families, et cetera. So we need to renew as well. So it's like a garden. We can't just expect it to just grow all the time. We have to give it fertilizer and water. So I like to think of the brain as an analogy to a garden. It needs just the right amount of fertilizer. It needs, also time to rebalance. It needs some water, but not too much. Nutrition, some fertilizer, not too much. Of course, there'll be people who want some to munch on it, like the bunnies and the deers and things will want to also share it, just like we're saying distractions, take away our productivity. Okay, so in the warm system, at the very least, in a very busy day, we want to think about what our brain needs, right? So it needs to be watered, it needs to have good nutrition, it needs rest, and it needs movement, and it needs others, right? So that's the warm system. So if your day is so busy, you have to think, okay, what's the bare minimum I have to do this week? Just think about, or today, what's the bare minimum? You want to put your brain in a good place to be able to focus because we're trying to avoid distractions that don't matter, right? So that's the warm system. Give me a thumbs up if you're going to try it this week or put it in our community chat. If you're going to try the warm system. Okay, the next system is called PET. So same thing, draw your oval, draw the heart, and then on the upper right or wherever you have room, draw the word, just write the word PET, P-E-T. Okay, so these are the other things that the brain needs to rebalance. We need people, that's the P. We need to know our emotions, like we talked about, to rebalance throughout the day. And the T we're saying is thank you. Okay, so this is the PET system. So again, really busy days. We're not really sure, you don't have time for anything. You're not sure what to do. You want to think about the PET system. Maybe you do the warm system in the morning, the PET system maybe midday. So who are the people I interacted with? Are the relationships renewing? Or are they draining? Do I need to go find a more renewing relationship, right? Or do I have to plan something after work with a friend that is renewing for me? It's fun and that fills us up emotionally, right? Emotions, we talked about nano breaks throughout the day, taking some time to think of something you're grateful for, look at a picture of somebody you love, assessing your emotions, because we all know emotional intelligence is a strong part of leadership. It is an absolute necessity, but so is being agile, right? As we have to learn how to work with our brain and give it what it needs so it can stay agile and learn how to rebalance throughout these times of change, right? Because the one thing that's for sure is things are going to change. Okay, so we have the warm system and the PET system for the week. You try them, see what you think. Okay. Okay. When we're talking about building confidence in these movements and building confidence in ourselves and our next moves, the way to build confidence is to know what's important to us and take action. So this week, think about challenging yourself to take a new action, whether it be the warm system, the PET system, whether it be one new tactic, whether it be blowing bubbles to put yourself in that positive mood. And so an action is what's going to help our brain actually change and learn to rewire and connect more easily. And then we all need to realize we have our own unique connectome. So we're really good at something. We're really good at a lot of things. And certain things are really fun for us. We really love to do it. Like I have some kids that really love organizing, two of my daughters. Like they love a good challenge to organize things. That is not my gift, my zone of genius in any way. I love connecting people. I met with someone yesterday and she calls herself a super connector. She loves to connect people. And I was like, I love that too. And I love to connect people to resources. Like that is definitely my happy place. That's why I like to do this. I like to be a bridge to resources for other people because I just love to watch people light up with new resources and realize, your own self-efficacy. You realize you have that self-empowerment and you can do it and you can just take that next scary, step to live fully in your strengths. Because I feel like the world, we'll be able to solve problems if people understand their strengths and are brave to live in their strengths, right? Because there has to be a sense of braveness to try new things. It doesn't feel good to be new at something, right? So we have to realize our brain has a connectome. We're really good at certain things. We're not exactly like everybody else at work. We have our own unique set of gifts, as do everybody else on our team. So we always want to try to figure that out because that's really important if we know what we're really good at. So I highly recommend that book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, and I'll put it in the resources. And then I'll also put this Myth of Happiness book in there because it's a great one too. We want to make sure that we are saying no and yes, and we're delegating and we're being fierce and brave at delegating, right? So we want to live in our strengths and our gifts and things that are good for us and good and are easy for us because they are our full 100% strengths. And sometimes it's hard to say no because we've said yes to a lot of things and we had all those windows and doors open. But now we're going to close some and we're going to focus on what we're good at, focus on our values, focus on our purpose, right? Because if we're living in our strengths, we're going to be able to help our community, our team, our family, our friends, so much at a higher level than trying to be and work in a strength of somebody else, right? Okay. We're going to think of ourselves as a time management warrior and that there's always something to learn and something to be fierce and brave about. And that's taking that growth mindset as like, we're not done. Not yet is the phrase Carol Dweck recommends. We're just not there yet. If we want to get better at something, we're not there yet. That's okay. We want to be fierce. We want to be a time management warrior. We want to put into our week what's important to us, right? Not what's important to other people, what's important to us. Okay. And then we want to consider that we can keep building new versions of ourselves. We can keep adding new skills. We can keep practicing new things because we are this time management warrior, right? We're a fun warrior. We want to put more enjoyment, more positivity into our lives because then we will share that with others because our emotions are contagious to our teams, to our families, to our community. So that's my goal is to just use neuroscience as a ripple of positivity around the globe so people can live fully in their strengths and we can solve problems globally because we know there's so many challenges these days in the world. And if people, don't have the tools to fully live in their own empowerment, or they don't know how to use the warm system or their pet system to nourish themselves, they can't get themselves into their highest level of solving problems. Okay, so for this week, we're going to think about our distractions. We're going to see how many windows and doors we have open, figuratively, during our workday, during when we're home. Who are we sharing our attention with? Because really, that's all we have, right? Our focus, our attention. It's an attention economy. Everyone's after our attention. Our phone is just trying to consistently gain our attention to sell ads, etc., get us to buy things, etc., to believe things, so we want to like put the stop on what's not important to us so we can focus on what's important to us. So we're going to avoid distractions or at least just check out, there's no judgment. It's only kindness here. We just become aware of who we're sharing our attention, our focus with throughout our week. We're going to partner with our brain rather than always feel like we're button up against it. We're going to partner with it, give it what it needs in a nourishing sense with the warm system and the pet system. Okay. We're going to think of ourselves as a warrior, that we're going to keep going. We're going to keep learning new tactics. We're going to keep, saying, not yet, we're not there yet, but we're going to keep going, right? We're going to try the warm and the pet system and think about our gifts. Like, what do you just love doing during your work week? What would you do for free? Or consider getting that book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And he talks a lot about your zone of genius. Okay. And then we're just going to acknowledge growth. So we're just here to grow. We're just like a garden. We can water a little bit, fertilize a little bit, keep people out that shouldn't be there, and little bunnies and deers out from eating the garden. Because we don't want to share everything with others. We want to make sure we're living fully in our strengths and what's important to us. Okay. You got this, guys. Okay, so feel free to put it in the community. Remember this little button up here. This is our community, our Brain Fresh community. Any tips, any questions? How do you like the book? What did you try? And I'll share there's 2 videos to watch in this session, so that you can dig into the worm and the pet system. Okay, you got this. So I'll see you next time at session 3. This was session 2. Okay, I believe in you. Have a great day and just share your challenges, your wins in the community. Okay. All right.